Video 06. September 30th, 2010. Mythi. Few people are reading these are words. I'd like to do more, but I do not know how. My friend, I can clarify your doubts at least, and this is something that I can remember having done on my own initiative. But the questions of your friends reveal that more people are involved, and that makes me very happy. My mission will not last long, but whenever I can, I come up here in my spare time. The Earth is an amazing place. It has a lot to do with my own planet, so I do not know if you rent a spaceship, even an economic model. I know the limitations, and I'm sorry for making you feel that way, but over time, you can use technology to learn about more places than you think. I myself, if I add up all the places I know, they would fit within a grain of sand in the universe. I wonder if you ever saw a 4,000-year-old building that exists near the home of my friend, Mike. I showed a picture of Stonehenge. As it was probably built by our cavemen, why and for what purpose? Do you know anything about it? These rocks are heavy and far from the site of origin. This construction could be one of several landing sites of ancient spaceships, made to isolate the heavy ships of the soil so that the anti-gravity field on takeoff took effect more effectively. It's a tourist point of your planet. A long time ago, the spacecrafts used a magnetic field system that carried the whole fuselage bottom. This made it to be slow during takeoff, consume much power, and cause problems by burning almost everything nearby. To minimize this grounding effect, they built a place to park the spacecraft. The human tribes, not understanding what was happening, saw them as
gods
from the sky. To build that, the rocks in these kinds of sites were brought to the location by levitation and placed upright after the local tribes dug places according to what was requested and designed by the
gods.
The
gods
gave
special tools.
So they nicked the fittings, and everything was assembled. This race of large humanoids averaged 12 feet tall but no longer exists here. They had problems with another ancient race and were driven out of your solar system. Now that place is a symbol of that race. This same system of construction was used several times by aliens for the ancient civilizations in Egypt, in the Orient, and in the Americas. We have news of a planet that would be part of our solar system with an elliptical orbit that will pass through the solar system at the end of 2012. By our calendar, causing the inversion of the magnetic poles and other disasters. The name of this planet would be Nibiru or Planet X. This news is well founded or not. There really is a planet with a 3,600-year-long orbit that belongs to the solar system? The Sumerians believed that aliens who were here observing and monitoring the phenomenon belonged this planet. But the aliens they called Anunnakis did not come from it because it's an uninhabited planet. It spends most of its orbit at extremely low temperatures and in complete darkness. The change of the magnetic poles will be an effect of the change of hemisphere of the galaxy. If you draw a line from the center to the edges of the galaxy, you see that it has an upper and a lower, like hemispheres on Earth. When you're in the northern hemisphere when the water drains, it swirls in a counterclockwise direction. And in the southern hemisphere, the swirl is inverted. It's the same principle. When Earth crosses the line of the hemisphere of the galaxy, the magnetic fields of the poles will reverse course. The alignment will take place in late 2012, and after that, the magnetic field will begin to switch. When the fields alternate at any given time, they are close to zero. This process greatly diminishes the protection of Earth against particles emitted by the Sun that will have tremendous activity in 2012. And this will cause major changes in climate and ocean currents. Large instabilities such as hurricanes and tornadoes will spread through Earth's atmosphere. The closest this planet will get to the Earth is 1.5 times the distance between Earth and Sunday. It is almost 3 times bigger than the Earth. Its proximity will cause instabilities in the surface of the Sun with an increase in solar flares. This planet you call Nibiru, Marduk, Herculebus, or Eris, will not be the villain of the story, only an accomplice. Do you know a race of aliens called
Zetas,
which is in contact with humans and can walk through walls transmuting its physical dimension? No, not with that name and not with those characteristics. We do not alternate dimensions, we live in the same dimension as you humanoids on Earth. The only beings who know how to live in another dimension are the blue beings. They transcend our reality. They are a more evolved race. There must be many races like theirs in the universe, but by how they interact with our dimension, we really only know that they exist. In the Community Galactica there is no race that can simply walk through walls. Mythi, a friend asks you, what can you say about ghosts? Spirits that communicate with the living? Well, spirits are you when you go to the Earth's aura blue beings community, i.e., you are awaiting transfer back to this dimension again. The human capacity to communicate with spirits of their own race are through what you call
mediums.
Right? There are two extremes. In the first case, these human spirits are in the aura of the planet. But they are still very attached to the incarnation recently closed. Its frequency is still in disarray and hangs out in the lower zone of the aura until rescued by the blue beings. Or the second case, are already there in the community and are able to convey thoughts to someone with the same frequency tuning here on Earth. This is actually very rare, there is more chance of a mechanical control of the mind of the correspondent
Medium
on Earth. Who could possibly write texts and messages dictated? Talking and body language usage is almost impossible. Moving objects between dimensions are something totally impossible. When you return from the dimension of the aura, you forget everything that happened there and also what happened before you moved there, because those memories are in another dimension. You only bring back with you the characteristics of what you had achieved in development at your previous incarnation. This is printed on your gene. And your descendants will inherit your progress, as will a more advanced generation to come. When you die and return to the dimension of the planet's aura, you will remember it all again, because you will be returning to that specific dimension where all your memories are. Changing subject, there are many sightings of ships around airports and cities in general. Where are all these ships, in addition to yours, of course? Look, there are many ships that pass through here, as tourists or to collect water, minerals, plants, and animals. We have no control over this movement. No races require authorization to circulate in a region that is not regulated by Community Galactica. As I mentioned before, there are over 50 breeds circulating around here. The breed most worrisome of these is the reptilians being in direct contact with your key leaders. The others do not come into direct contact, only by accident or by mistake sometimes. Since the reptilians are working with governments on Earth, does this mean that some of these spacecraft can be built right here with technology transferred by them? No, they cannot pass on these technologies because they do not belong to them. Technologies are provided by the Community Galactica, and if they do, they will be penalized. The community is the only source handler and producer of anti-carbon units, the fuel used by this technology. The reptilians do not produce nearly anything. Everything is negotiated in exchange for raw materials. It is impossible to produce these ships here on Earth. And the only way would be to cede their own fleet ships to be used by Earthling governments associated with them. They certainly would not risk that with Earthlings. But that does not prevent them from transferring older technologies, which are still far ahead of what you have now. These old technologies did not use the current fuel, so it is possible for the construction of less advanced spacecrafts. But they can be used for travel within your solar system with ease. The reptilians have scrapped many old spacecraft on their planets. There has been much movement on the lunar base of reptilians this last year. This is a subject which I'll comment with my crew. As an engineer here on Earth, I have to ask this question. How does this old technology work? How is it based? The old propulsion technologies also used magnetism for navigation. The difference lies in the ability, capacity, and maneuverability. They used the potential difference in the fuselage, top and bottom, of the magnetic fields to navigate. They had 4 field coils in the upper quadrants and 4 in the lower quadrants. These high-flow coils were energized by a generation system type perpetual motion which was fired all the time, like a gyroscope with constant rotation. This in turn was powered by a chemistry battery of high capacity lasting up to 10 years of use in Earth time. They had different sizes depending on the size and weight of the spacecraft. The spacecrafts now use a system of directed magnetic beams, no longer needing a magnetic field, so less grounding problems upon takeoff. And anti-carbon units last as long as the ship lasts. Anti-carbon units are extremely powerful. The way they are produced can only be used as propulsion units. Its encapsulation and isolation are invulnerable and is an expertise held only by the Community Galactica. If one could be opened, it could destroy an entire planet within minutes as a black hole. The power they can generate is almost unlimited, to supply a small or huge spaceship.